Good evening and welcome to all. This is our final session of season two of Guru Anugraham, and I can't believe it's flown by so quickly. The Guru Anugraham sessions are a lecture series in English about the Guru's teachings and his philosophy. I'd like to request all of us to put our devices, that is, mobiles and laptops, on mute at this point. Dr. Jija Madhavan Hari Singh will take us through this evolution of Guru Anugraham to where we are today, the last session of season two on this series, and then we will continue with the program. So, requesting everybody to put themselves on mute and over to Dr. Jija Madhavan Hari Singh.
Yeah, people are just coming in one by one, but I would like to uh, welcome everybody once again formally to this session, the last of the second season, 20th lecture that we are presenting today. We had started this a year ago, 70 of us who are some of them are jnanis like Dilip Kumar, and some of them are jignasus like me and my daughter and others. So these jnanis and jignasus came together, and we have established such a beautiful relationship, and beautiful discussions are going on in the WhatsApp group. And we started off on these wild adventure, I should say. With Guru's grace, it has been going on very well. The first series, we had 10 lectures. That time it was every week, and it was hailed as the only weekly lecture in English on Sri Narayana Guru happening in the world. In fact, at that time, I must take credit that this was the idea mooted by my daughter Yumna Hari Singh, and because she's the president of LSR alumni, and we Art Mantram and all that, and we were doing it. So she said, why don't we do these lectures for Sri Narayana Guru group? That's how we started. I would like to place my appreciation for suggestion at this juncture. And then when we started, it was Guru and me was the topic. How has Guru affected me in the very special way? The first speaker we had got was Professor Shashidharan, who is a quantum physicist and who is the former vice chancellor of Calicut University. And then we had, of course, Mr. Dr. Alexander, who is a Guru Shishya and who has benefited all his education, his IAS, everything he attributes to the grace of Guru. And he was responsible for a very big allotment of space in Bangalore, in the heart of Bangalore city, when we were commissioner of the corporation. And then we had other people who presented beautifully Guru and the special relationship, Dr. Sabu and all the others, including Mr. Dilip Kumar. The second series was a little more serious. We took up one world as the theme, which was Sri Narayana Guru's idea initially, and taken over seriously by his Shishya, Dr. Nataraj Guru, and then onwards. So that was at the nucleus of the second series. Also had 10 lectures. But this time, since many lectures have come up in Malayalam, we decided that we won't have it every week. It was becoming too much, we were all feeling a little zoomed out. So we just sort of stretched this, and we are presenting these now once in a month. The last few sessions have been once in a month, which is enough for everybody, is what we feel. And these are recorded. These are on YouTube and Facebook, and also we have recorded them, and it is available. there is generally an international audience, but many people who cannot access it live are also coming on the Facebook, and they are watching this when it is happening. So this is mostly for Madam Shareena Banu, and I will hand over to Dilip Kumar. But one more thing I would like to say is that the next series, next 10 lectures are going to be once a month, and next time it may not be in the form of a lecture, because many people have said that they would like to have a conversation. So we will have one a person who is a jnani, who is a person who is a scholar, and there will be an interlocutor who is almost equally at the same level, and then there will be a conversation. That is the format that we are discussing for the next 10 lectures. And we hope that even after today, Dr. Shareena Banu will be part of us. We are a
Yeah,
family. And
of course, I'll be part of it.
over to Dilip Kumar.
Thank you so much, madam. Om Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Sahana Vatu, Sahana Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahai, Tejasvina Vadhitamastu, Ma Vidyushavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. A very good evening to all of you. I have immense pleasure in introducing and welcoming our today's speaker, Dr. Shareena Banu. Dr. Shareena Banu is Assistant Professor of Sociology at prestigious Jamia Millia Islamia Central University, New Delhi. Dr. Banu did her early education in Kerala up to graduation, and she studied at the Providence College, Calicut, as well as Farouk College, Calicut, under Calicut University. After graduation, she took her master's from JNU, Jawaharlal Nehru University, on sociology. She also continued there and did her doctoral studies at the Center for Study of Social Systems, and took the doctorate from JNU. And she moved on to academics and teachings, and she has been in this teaching field for the past 15 years. And she has published many papers and books in reputed international journals and publications. And she has published a book titled Population Governance and Discourses, Education and Contemporary Kerala Society, published in Germany by Academic Publishing in Germany. And luckily, and to our luck, she has shifted her focus around 5 years back to Narayana Guru. And that focus, we could see it is on the right focus. And she is following Guru through his direct disciple, Nadaraja Guru. As Madam said, the theme of our lecture series, of the second lecture series, One Word. And this today's lecture, I am quite sure, is related to one word education. Nadaraja Guru has the credit of writing the One Word Education Manifesto. And she has written a beautiful, very scholarly paper on education, self, and society, a contemporary reading of integrated science of the absolute in the philosophy of Narayana Guru and Nataraja Guru. This was published in a collected volume edited by Dr. Suresh Babu, published by Routledge in Delhi in 2019. It's a very, very scholarly article. Definitely, she's taking us through the integrated science. We know the integrated science of the absolute is the magnum opus of Nataraja Guru. It is actually the commentary of Darshanamala of Narayana Guru, but it is not the conventional commentary of a Vedantic text. So Nataraja Guru here tried to integrate all the sciences, Vidya, in Sanskrit, the equal word is Vidya, to one place, and trying to validate the findings of Narayana Guru through this effort. So in the Mundaka Upanishad, it says Brahma Vidya is Sarva Vidya Pradishta. It's a seat of knowledge of all sciences. That is Brahma Vidya. So there is an interesting conversation in Chandogya Upanishad between Narada and Sanat Kumara. So they are talking about Paramartha and Yathartha. Paramartha means, Parama means absolute. Artha means knowledge or value. So the absolute value or absolute knowledge, and Yathartha, as it you can see, the relative value. So the difference. So here the difference, especially when it comes to education, the Western thinkers, including Bertrand Russell and other people, says that you can learn this in a piecemeal, in the Yathartha way. But the sages of India, the Rishis, they learn through the Paramartha way, the absolute way. And again, another interesting aspect is the learning of the self. The Atmopadesh Shabdaka, we know Guru's work. Nitya Chaitanya Yati translated beautifully into 100 verses of self-instruction. The self-instruction, so that is the way of the learning happened in this land of Rishis. So definitely by going through the paper of Dr. Shareena Banu, she may be touching upon all these aspects through her lecture. And I'm sure she will present Guru as a universal educator, and Guru's education is for creating world citizens, universal ethics, compassionate selves, which will build a peaceful society on the earth. Welcome, Dr. Shareena, to this forum.
Thank you,
It's
sir.
all yours.
Okay.
Welcome.
Okay. My pranam to all of you. It's a great honor to be here amongst you. It is indeed a privilege to be able to share the virtual space with you all. I thank the Guru Anugraham group for having me, and I wish the group all the very best for all your fantastic work in the present and in the future. Through YouTube, you are spreading Narayana Guru's message, and I appreciate the commendable work of the group. I'm happy to be part of that noble cause. Like all of you gathered here in this virtual space, I am also a seeker eager to learn Narayana Guru's teachings. I deliver this lecture as a dedication to all my gurus, whose wisdom has prepared me for this talk. I am indebted to all of them. My today's lecture topic is Education, Self, and Society in the Philosophy of Narayana Guru. Let me start with the interface between education and self in Narayana Guru's philosophy. I'm sure all of you must have heard or read Narayana Guru's education philosophy in the context of Brahma Vidya, or the science of the absolute. It is grounded in the Advaita philosophy. Here, I intend to discuss the self and knowing of the self as the central teaching of Narayana Guru. As someone interested in education philosophy, I could observe that it is difficult to find a universal definition of education. It varies from time to time and place to place. Instead of defining education as a formal institutionalized form of imparting knowledge, I intend to look at it from the perspective of the science of the absolute. For understanding the goal of the science of the absolute, I here use Narayana Guru's book Atmobadesha Shadakam. It can be translated as 100 verses of self-instruction. To begin with, let us ask what self-instruction means to Narayana Guru. He has written this book in anticipation that people would learn how to read and write. In this book, he has preserved the secret of Advaita philosophy, especially for the serious seekers. Now, let us come back to the question of what self-instruction implies. Anyone can take the book and read it and directly understand it. It means the seeker is free and independent, does not have to look for outside assistance, and can directly engage with the book. Anyone can take the book and read it for themselves, or, in other words, the book speaks for itself. More importantly, it denotes that no one else can instruct you or take you to wisdom. You have to instruct yourself, or the self has to be instructed. You live a spoiled life, or the mind is filled with muck, and it is your responsibility to instruct yourself to take it to the right path. So the individual is responsible for him or herself. Dialectically speaking, this notion of learning is different from the idea of modern education. I theoretically explore here the possibility of a synthesis of the ancient wisdom on self-instruction and modern education. Children and ordinary masses cannot instruct themselves. Hence, they need an elder, a guru, or a teacher to understand this book. As they cannot understand it, they cannot meditate or contemplate or illuminate on the verses of this book independently, even though they can by heart the whole book. There are two ways by which this book could be approached. One is to first understand the real meaning of the verses, and the second is the practice of this wisdom in everyday life. There is a theoretical part to this knowledge and a practical side. And the title suggests that the second part is more important than the first one. Once the verses are understood by themselves or with a guru's help, the seeker has to start instructing themselves. Even a sincere, eager seeker may have confused, and a guru can step in. The pedagogy or teaching method varies from guru to guru. A guru is keen to teach an earnest seeker. He tests if the seeker is prepared to accept wisdom. The guru can initiate the seeker by showing them the right direction, but it is ultimately the seeker's responsibility to practice the knowledge gained from a guru. The pedagogy practiced in modern times in an institutionalized setup does not teach reflexivity or contemplation, a method Narayana Guru suggested for the earnest seekers. Here, self-instruction implies that has to be practiced. That is why it is called self-instruction. It is the self teaching the self. Narayana Guru's disciple Nadaraja Guru wrote, and I quote, the text is entitled Atma Upadesha, which means teaching about or of the self. The subject of the work is contemplative self-realization or knowing oneself as better understood in the Socratic context as pertaining to the central problem of wisdom itself. Hence, we all are our own teachers. The Guru is the one in the Indian tradition who has learned how to instruct his or her own self and knows how to take care of the self. One sad person, depressed with the turmoils of life, told me, I do not know how to control my emotions and feelings. I cry out of despair. It suggests that he or she lacks the guidance to instruct their own self. Modern education, with its instrumental thinking, cannot prepare us for life. It only inculcates the value of competition and success. It is superficial and addresses the material problems first and make us believe that everything will be taken care of if you achieve the success in the material world. It tries to fix the problem from outside. Inner wisdom and love do not come through the external superficial knowledge. The aesthetics of self-instruction is the core of Narayana Guru's wisdom. Let us now contemplate on the first verse of Atma-Vadesha Shadagam. Here, I use Muni Guru's translation. The quote, attaining the core reality that transcends all ordinary knowledge, that irradiates both the apparent form of the knower and all objects external at the same time, requires turning inwards of all five senses, accompanied by repeated prostration, reading, chanting, and mastering scriptures like the present one. There are some important values that are taught in this first verse of Atma-Vadesha Shadakam. It has a very deep meaning. Self-instruction implies that there are techniques to move away from the outside world. What we have is the ordinary knowledge, which is relative, which suits someone wanting to lead an ordinary life. But one can reach to the core reality only by going beyond fragmented or relative knowledge about the world. So, the first verse introduces to the seeker the essence of Advaita philosophy or Brahma Vidya. Brahman in English can be translated as absolute. So what the self has to teach itself is absolutist thinking against instrumental thinking. Instrumental rationality denotes to work efficiently to achieve a goal. It could be success, wealth, or any other tangible or intangible desire. It means rationality is used for achieving success in life. You love or respect someone because they helped you to achieve some goal in life. So instrumental rationality is relativist thinking. So what the self has to teach itself is absolutist thinking, or in other words, through self-instruction, one should become an absolutist. In this context, it is interesting to note the title of Natarajaguru's autobiography, that is, the autobiography of an absolutist. The opposite of absolutist thinking is relativist thinking. Narayana Guru, in other works like Jati Mimamsa, that is, a critique of caste, refers to this ordinary thinking. The thinking has to be changed to change the society. A mind which thinks through fragmented self, that is, I, me, mine, they, others, etc., cannot reach to core reality or the Karu. For instance, if one always think relatively as my sorrows, my caste, etc., the concept of I will stop them from contemplating on larger questions like what is sorrow, what is caste, etc. One can reach to core reality only by going beyond all ordinary knowledge. More clearly, just reading the book without practicing the teaching will not help one to reach the absolute. So Narayana Guru in this verse says, to attain the core reality, one has to instruct one to turn inwards of the five senses. If we have to learn to close all our eyes, which includes all our senses, then external agencies cannot help us much. That is why gurus look for disciples who have the eagerness to move inside one's own self or the inner world. People look for grace from the guru to transform their self, but we forget that Narayana Guru had no guru who trained him to take care of his self. He is a self-taught guru. It suggests that one has to teach oneself all alone. It is a lonely path. You have to constantly instruct yourself. To be able to know oneself is the most significant achievement. Now, how can one instruct oneself to take all the senses inside? A guru cannot do this for you. You have to educate yourself. When one has the deep desire to attain the absolute or the verity, one will automatically move inside. Hence, the science of the absolute is a philosophy of inner transformation. Your interest in the outside world wanes as you realize the illusion engulfing you through awareness of the self. The emotions, lust, taste, beautiful objects, smell, stop attracting us. Our attachment towards the outside objects ends because peace and happiness become our ultimate aim. This first verse is the essence of Advaita philosophy, which needs to be practiced daily. The verse further says one has to prostrate, read, chant, and master scriptures. Now, one can imagine the absolute or truth and prostrate or can prostrate before a guru or guru who are personifications of the absolute or can prostrate to earth or whole universe. Then the verse says, read. One has to read in order to educate oneself. Narayana Guru sent Kumaran Ashan to Calcutta and Nadaraja Guru to the West for higher studies. Hence, reading and learning modern sciences, Western philosophy, humanities, English, Sanskrit, etc. are important part of self-learning in modern times. The requirement changes from time to time depending on the temper of the time. For current times, scientific temper is paramount. That is why he declared that schools are more important than temples. Then, Guru says one has to chant and master scriptures. Here, chanting can be seen as one of the methods of contemplation or meditation upon each verse. It is in order to get into the deeper levels of meaning hidden in each verse. Only through silent or loud chanting, our self or soul gradually starts recognizing or smelling the fragrance of this spiritual wisdom. Self-instruction is complete only when one masters scriptures. In modern times, everyone has access to scriptures. In the earlier times, lower caste people were not allowed to read scriptures. But in modern times, by learning how to read and write, one can understand the scriptures. But what is more important is first to learn turning inwards of 5 senses. Reading, prostrating, mastering scriptures should accompany it. Modern education and religious education miss this point. Some people keep reading scriptures. This is particularly the case because of the availability of books. So we assume that we are an enlightened society as people can read scriptures and interpret them. It is similar to modern schools producing lots of literate and educated people, but having no ability to control their anger, fear, anxiety, ambition, and desire. So both religious education and modern education has its own limitations. And self-instruction is a method that needs to be integrated into both religious learning and modern education. It is a third educational alternative. So, we can say that Narayana Guru in this verse outlines an absolutist education that is holistic. It is an alternative education that teaches the total preparation of the self. A political movement cannot set man absolutely free. More importantly, one has to work upon one's own self. In modern times, we are spoiled by our tangible and intangible desires, and the way out of it is one's awareness of the self. Any education which takes the individual towards the outside and make them a desiring machine is incomplete. A society produced by those who just read scriptures will not be able to liberate itself. So educating the self is equally important. Nitya Guru suggested one has to follow a technique of the self. One has to watch the awareness passing through like a stream of consciousness. When you look at an object, you not only see a form, but you are entering into the essence of it. Similarly, observing one's senses and its desires are important. It leads to self-transformation. There is a state of knowing in which you become unaware of your personal involvement as the knower. When you are fully engaged in an experience, you are not simultaneously thinking of yourself. We are unaware of the act of senses. So, we have to take a step backward and observe the play of senses. That is awareness. If you look at an object outside, you have the habit of thinking that the object is outside. It is when it is registered inside as knowledge that the mind recognizes it. We generally miss that point. When your senses are not put into operation, you experience only the subtle sensation of passing ideas, inner urges, which constitute your inner world. Here, turning inwards the five senses means an awareness one achieves through watching those ideas and inner urges. We have to tame and humble this aggressive I, which obstructs us from seeing the infinite intelligence or the Karu or the consciousness that pervades the whole universe. He says, if you want to meditate on self, focus on whatever happens during the day. My research shows that Greeks also practiced this method. They write, before going to bed, a summary of all the important activities that happen to them during the day. They watch themselves while looking at things, talking to another person, and doing their daily routines. Taking care of the self is part of the Socratic teaching also. He advises his student who desires to become a public figure that even to become a public figure, you have to take care of yourself. We are blind if we are not watching ourselves. We create various images and labels about ourselves, which block us from looking at ourselves. Nitya Guru further says, see this world, see this wonder manifested around you and within you, moment after moment, without turning away from any of your regular duties. Through the whole day, while you eat, walk, work, go to sleep, ponder over this wonder with devotion. If you make notes of what you see and feel and read them in evening, you will be surprised to discover how many treasures you have admired. We can say that this increased awareness lead to nirmanaskada or no mind. Nirmanaskada or no mind, which silences the mind. The history of diary writing can be traced back to the method of self-instruction. The ancient Greek gurus used diary writing as a technique of self-instruction. The personal diary was called the diary of life or the logbook of existence. So we can say that whether it is in India or the West, we all had a tradition of self-instruction. It is the science of the absolute which we have lost and needs to be revived. It is the science of the life of the self. Hence, education consists of all those actions and knowledge that fundamentally alter or have the potential to bring about self-transformation and thereby social transformation. For Narayana Guru, a holistic mind or pure consciousness or chit that sees everything should be the aim of the science of the absolute. Holistic education is central to Nadaraja Guru's education philosophy too. He observed that the need for integrating sciences and humanities is our need. He explored the possibility of revaluing the modern education system. He started Narayana Gurukulam as an alternative to mainstream education and also to religious education. He believed that developing a philosophical mind with a spiritual sense is the solution to modern instrumental rationality. Narayana Guru is the harbinger of a new educational movement that stood for the liberation of the self through self-instruction. We can consider his thoughts as the commencement of an alternative public pedagogy. By way of this, he was inculcating a new awakening of the Eastern tradition of education. The current school curriculum of Kerala has acknowledged his contribution by inculcating his vision on humanity. How much more time do I have? Or should we, I can stop here also.
No. If you have some more important things to share, you can go ahead. We have enough time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay. So now I would like to talk a little bit about, the influence of Narayana Guru's philosophy on society, his concept of humanity, and how he directly dealt with the issue of caste. So I have already discussed Jati Mimamsa, which can be translated as a critique of caste. So we all know India was a caste-ridden society, especially during Narayana Guru's lifetime. Hierarchy was considered as natural in human society. But in the writings of Narayana Guru, we see a new categorization of human beings based on a new taxonomy. He regards human beings as one kind or one species. Now, this concept of species is very modern and Enlightenment, period. It was during the Enlightenment period people started talking about human as a species, as a different species, or what is unique to human, etc. So his concept of the human beings as one species resonate with the modern thinking, modern philosophers. At a time when everyone believed caste was a norm of society, for formation, his formation was to treat it as a false logic which went against humanity. So it is interesting to see that Narayana Guru says it's a false logic. Why are we giving so much importance to even this question whether caste should be there or not? Like we all know the discussion between Narayana Guru and caste and Gandhi. So for him it's false logic and complete waste of time to even ask the question whether we need caste or not. The general assumption at that time was to see caste as a social reality. hence to be accepted as an inevitable evil. But Narayana Guru remarked that it is a false notion to assume it as a first principle in understanding society. There is some basic natural order that is common to human beings as a whole. So his famous saying, you all are familiar with it, one of kind, one of faith, and one in God is man, one of one womb, of one form, differences herein none. Within the species, it is not that offspring truly breeds. The community of man, thus viewed to a single caste, belongs. He moves away from the traditional discourses on the caste system. The perspective of humanity based on species had not been articulated so potently before in Indian tradition. People believed in caste order as an ascribed status. Ascribed status means something which you achieve by birth and you cannot change that status. One is born in a caste and hence cannot be changed as it was assigned by birth. He instead tried to reinstate faith in humanity. It was suggested by him that contemplating on caste was a futile exercise. He, as a critic of caste, had become a great inspiration in the fight against untouchability. Caste has distorted man's relation to man. He attempted to build a new consciousness in man as single species. Caste determines whom one should marry. The complex caste order determines all deeds of an individual from birth till death. But there are ample examples to prove that caste as a mode of representation did not exist during ancient period. There are some more things which can be discussed, but I think, I read it, these few paragraphs, because I want to show that Narayana Guru's Advaita philosophy or his philosophy is directly reflected in his understanding of humanity and caste. So, his articulation, his critique of caste is a classical example of absolutist thinking. He was not looking at my caste or somebody else's caste or hierarchically, some people are above me or some people are below me, but as what is caste? Larger question, a theoretical question, what after all caste is. So in that sense, we have to move away from ordinary knowledge. There are lots of studies on caste, especially in social sciences, but most of them talk about the problems of this caste or that caste, and Narayana Guru never fallen into this trap of asking this question, that it's a relativist thinking, So basically being an educationist, I was quite interested in his understanding of thinking itself. What is thinking? Like philosophers like Heidegger have written books on what is thinking. So we have Narayana Guru, somebody who is teaching humanity or the world that what is a right question to ask, and what is false logic, So it's connected to my previous part. So I think I'll stop it here.
Yeah, you have very well connected that relativistic thinking with absolute thinking by bringing this critique of caste example. So yeah, it is wonderful. Before we move on to the question answer session, I would like to invite Jija Madam to hear her remarks on the lecture.
Go on to the, I think we should go on to the Very smart. I think we should go on to the question and answer session. Very, very interesting presentation and really wonderfully interlaced with the Western philosophy, ancient Greek philosophy, and also the thinking about not only humanism, but the education, the part about education that you said was really, really interesting. Let's go on to the question and answer session. I'm sure many people have many questions actually, from underlining, Dr. Shareena underlined that generally gurus have got gurus, and here is one self-taught guru. And from that onwards, from that fountain head, uh, she talks so beautifully in the linking many aspects about education. Let's have the question and answer.
Okay, madam. We'll go to the question and answers. And as you rightly said, she has beautifully linked the absolute thinking and absolute knowledge and relative thinking and relative knowledge. And she has taken the right example from Atmopadesh Shadakam, the self-instructions. And starting from the first sloga itself, അറിവിലുമേറി അറിഞ്ഞിടുന്നവൻ തന്നൊരുവിലുമൊത്ത് പുറത്തു ജ്വലിക്കും കരുവിനു കണ്ണുകൾ അച്ചുകൊണ്ടടക്കി തെരുതെരവിയുന്നു വണങ്ങിയോതിടേണം. I think that encompasses the entire philosophy of Narayana Guru in that particular opening sloka of Atmopadeshadaka, and she beautifully narrated that sloka of Atmopadeshadaka with so many examples of absolutist thinking and self-learning. Before we move to the forum, I have a initial question. You have mentioned about the alternative public pedagogy of Guru. You have given so many examples, but could you please summarize for the benefit of the audience on that particular pedagogy, how it is different from the normal pedagogy?
Yes. Okay, that's a very important question. I have dealt with this question like while I was thinking about it. So you actually gave me an opportunity to talk about rest of my paper, which I thought I will address if somebody is interested to know more about it. I talk about an alternative pedagogy. Here, pedagogy cannot be confined to teaching in schools or colleges. Pedagogy is the teaching method. It can be the method of a guru, or it can be teaching the public. It's like Narayana Guru's values, his understanding of world, understanding of humanity, understanding the species being. All these in a way gave a new vocabulary, a spiritual vocabulary, a political vocabulary to people, especially who had lost their confidence, their dignity, their pride. So it gave them a new vigor, new spirit, to look at their own self, bereft of all the tags or the identity tags which were put on them in the name of caste, class, gender, religion, whatever it is. So it gave a new vocabulary and the mainstream public took it over. So I was talking about this new pedagogy, this alternative pedagogy, also at a time when caste practices were prevalent, untouchability was practiced, and also it was the time of colonialism. Everyone was after modern education. So Narayana Guru, of course, said that we need modern education, right? The scientific temper, we have to inculcate the values of a new world, right? But at the same time, it strikes a balance, his alternative science of the absolute, in the sense that it enabled people to look at their own self as one among the human species, right? So modern education was giving them, Natarajaguru also talks about it in his autobiography, that modern education gives you certain understanding of the world. And he has written all his books in English more, more for the Western audience so that they can understand Narayana Guru's philosophy, not the other way around. It's not for the Indians to learn more about philosophy that he has engaged with this dialectics. So he wanted to spread the value of his guru, you know. So it is in that sense I say Narayana Guru provided an alternative pedagogy to humanity.
Thank you. You have very well answered. Thank you so much, Dr. Shareena. Now the forum is open, and as Madam said, that we have a lot of jnanis and jitnasus in this group. I could see Dr. Kumar Rajapan from USA, Shamida, then Sujit from Canada, and so many, Mr. Subhash from UK. So many listeners from outside India also there. So may I invite Dr. Kumar Rajapan to maybe ask questions or say a few words to the forum.
Thank you, Mr. Dilip, and thank you to Jija Madam for letting me know of this talk. I would have missed it. It's a very great talk. So I will start my question from the last sentence the speaker said. So Narayana, yeah, of course, wrote all his works in English to educate, so to speak, the Westerners of Narayana Guru. That is it's true. But at the same time, if you carefully look at the works, you can see that it is the entire humanity is under his consideration. So with respect to the talk, Narayana Guru says an integrated wisdom must accommodate existential laws, logical rules, and critical reasoning, and give full scope to intuition. So this is where I think Narayana Guru makes that bridge from philosophy or the concept of Sat, that is what is meant by existential laws, to the science, that critical reasoning and logical rules. And I think this is where the social implication of the Guru's philosophy comes into play, where Vedanta bridges the science. And also, if you look at other thinkers like Osho, he says that intelligence is the quality of awareness, which is a very profound statement. Now, with this in mind, and you being a sociologist, now the problem that I am struggling with is, for whatever reason, even in educated Kerala, even where Narayana Guru came and said all these things, the ugly heads of caste is rearing or coming out from the halls, so to speak. And how can we impart this integrated wisdom? I'm a product of Narayana Guru's very own Gurukula, but I cannot say that I have anything special. But unfortunately, this is not catching on for whatever reason. So from your sociological point of view, how we can effectively bring this back, because the society is going backwards, and I can see it from here through and through. I can give you countless examples how this backward tracking is working. So please give me some insight into how we can take this forward, not backwards. Thank you.
Okay, I think it's a very important question, especially when we talk about contemporary society. Like gurus, gurus are important because they represent society of a particular time and space. You know, so avatars come or gurus come to enlighten people of a particular time and period. You know, so we, in that sense, you know, they reinterpret or revalue, you know, the existing wisdom for the new generation with examples, anecdotes from their life, from their experiences. You know, that is why we see YouTube or social media is important even for spreading Narayana Guru's philosophy, what you people are doing here. You know, so it's a new medium of, you know, sharing your views and clearing your confusion. So I would like to relate it with what Dilip sir asked me about the public pedagogy. You know, pedagogy, a vocabulary for the public, you know. And I would say that as Jija ma'am was saying, we need to introduce Narayana Guru's philosophy through universities by introducing syllabus. And also people are engaged in writing about Narayana Guru's philosophy. And also there is a sense that our society is transforming, you know, whether it is transforming for good or for bad, it's a matter of discussion. The modernist thinkers would say that, you know, we are progressing, you know, and we talk about modern Kerala or modernity in Kerala. And there is another group which argues that no, you know, our society is casteist society. We have this organizations, different organizations, groups, you know, representing various castes. And Narayana Guru was against such identity politics. Or some people might say, no, he favored it. When people came to him, he gave his consent, though he has not directly, you know, talked about it. Or maybe after a point when he understood this is not going to be effective for spreading his philosophy, he has withdrawn himself from such politics. You know, so it's more of a political question. And I would say, as a sociologist, I don't have, you know, proper answer to it, but I'm sure with more and more people trying to understand Narayana Guru's philosophy and, you know, try to apply it in that, that's a crux of my paper also, that in our everyday life, when we start using it in our everyday life to reach to the absolutist thinking or reach to absolute questions, then these things will be insignificant for us. The caste politics, which is dominant in our times, you know. So I think what is important is clarity over what Narayana Guru stands for and what his successors like Nataraja Guru, Nitya Guru, Prasad Guru, Guru Muni Prasad, they all have detached themselves from politics. So in my research, I have found that this is more of a philosophical movement. And Nataraja Guru believed that Narayana Guru wanted him to take, you know, take this educational movement or philosophical movement for the future generation. And the political movement and its impact has died out to some extent, which was started during the colonial period. And Narayana Guru asked Nadaraja Guru to go outside, not just for higher studies, but Narayana Guru was protecting Nadaraja Guru, that you have a bigger goal for future generations to come. So I think that's how we should place Nadaraja Guru's writing and also his vision for a future society where people will be more interested in practicing Narayana Guru rather than using him for political purposes. So I hope I have answered your question, sir.
Yeah, in a way, yes. Thank you. I will let others ask questions. Thank you. Thank you.
It was very interesting that you have given this wide spectrum from what the vision and mission of Narayana Guru was for the future generations through Nataraja Guru, and how he it was not that he just wanted him to get Western education, but he also wanted to protect him and preserve him, and to maybe keep the integrity of the knowledge, and to spread it, to understand it in the context of Western philosophy, and to then spread it for future generations. Sri Narayana Guru himself had said that it will take about 100 years for people to start understanding what I am saying. And another thing, but what I actually wanted to ask you is, you talked about public pedagogy, and also mentioned, you threw new light on many things, shined new light on many things. But one thing I just was interested in knowing a bit more is that you said that it has the humanism, the philosophy, the of Srinarayana Guru regarding education has impacted positively the curriculum uh, of schools and colleges of Kerala. I'm quite curious to know whether that is, where did you see it, and can we see it? Can we understand it a little more?
Yeah. If I remember correctly, ma'am, I said in a school, not in colleges.
Okay.
That's first correction. And this time when I went home, I live in Delhi, so I went home to my hometown, Kerala. I was surprised to see, I was thinking about Narayana Guru and his philosophy and all. And my niece was reading a chapter on Narayana Guru in her, textbook.
Oh.
Yeah. The Kerala government has included chapters on Narayana Guru's philosophy, his concept of humanity, and also anecdotes, I think this happened, this idea that Narayana Guru should be taught in the schools happened, I think, 2-3 years back. It was, the decision of the education ministry, in that sense, Kerala is far ahead, compared to many other states or
But
other
even
parts of.
even that hasn't had any impact on the rigid caste systems existing in Kerala now, is what you hinted at?
See, for the past 25 years, I have been living in Delhi. Uh, uh, you know, what is actually happening in Kerala in terms of caste, I could feel it, and I feel that many people are making use of the self-pity that the Dalits and the
Well
lower
said.
caste are having. So people are not allowing them to, think about other things in life, and as a matter of fact, it is true that they also start internalizing the fact that my caste, I belong to a group or an organization, then everybody falls into that trap, you know. So I feel that is what is happening, so, and change happens gradually, so it only when one individual feels happiness from inside, peace from inside, he could really feel that, understand that what is happening in the outside world is a product of relativist thinking. My caste, his caste, history of caste, some people dominated some people, so the time to correct history, so all these are relativist thinking if we look at it from Narayana Guru's perspective. So that is what I feel.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any more questions? I just mentioned few
hello.
names. Yeah, please.
Hello, can you hear me? This is
yeah,
Subhash.
Mr. Subhash.
Subhash.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, I have a very small question. First of all, I'd like to say, Shareena, it was a extremely interesting talk. I've learned a lot.
Thank you.
I'm sure I will have questions in the future as well. So I really enjoyed it. But my question is fairly simple and straightforward, really. From a one world perspective of Sri Narayana Guru's philosophy, Nararaja Guru, in his World Education Manifesto, has mentioned that the answer lies in the wholehearted and thoroughgoing love of fellow man and the reliance on absolutist wisdom. So, which is what you kind of mentioned a few times, right? So my question is related to an earlier question, that is, from a cybernetics viewpoint, that is where we do some sort of experimentation to see if it's working. Do you think that it's about time that we put some sort of metrics and measurements to see if it's working? It's been 100 years already, right? So is it about time to actually look at schools or institutions where we are implementing such a thing to do some sort of measurements to see how we're doing? I think it's positive. It is working, but is it something that we can do to get some data to do some measurements? That's my question. Sorry, it was long-winded, but that's simply my question. Metrics.
Okay. Thank you, Subhash sir. It's a question which is very close to my heart also. Like, I have been thinking of doing a project myself and finding out, that's what you have just mentioned. So if I could, refer to one book, that will be Nitya Guru's book on education. It's in Malayalam called Parivartanonmuga Vidyabhyasam, which is in English, I think, transformative education. So in that book, interestingly, Nitya Guru has done field work. He has distributed questionnaire to teachers, to children, and to other people, and asked questions about, existing education, to parents also, and the politics in schools and colleges in Kerala. So he has come up with an analysis of the existing education system, right? So being an educationist myself, I have been working on education for the last 25 years. My PhD was also on education. This conflict, most of our writings on education are upon nation building, the process of nation building, and not about, self, or what Nadaraja Guru talked about, the personal factor in education. So it is right time to actually reread Nadaraja Guru, his thesis, his work, uh, personal factor in education. And my project, if you ask me if I have a project, my project is also to um, bring a synthesis between modern education and holistic education. So many thinkers like Gandhi, Tagore, Aurobindo, Krishnamurti, they all have contributed in this dialogue, especially during the colonial period when we were thinking about what should be our education policy. But we all went for modern education because there were a lot of ill practices in our society, which only modern values could really, challenge and question. And it has given confidence to marginalized people, modern education, that we are moving towards democratic, modern society. But I think now it is time, as you say.
About FRR.
Okay. I think now it is time, as you also feel, and as you have suggested, we should do a revaluation. We have to critically look at what we have achieved through our education and through our education policies. And interestingly, I have attended seminars in JNU, and um, there are people who are ready for alternative education or alternative thinking. Like in Delhi, I have once taught in Mirambigao school. They don't have a curriculum. They follow Aurobindo's education policy. Yeah. So there are lots of experiments going on in different part of India, because even the parents are not happy with modern education. So many parents are ready to experiment with new alternative thinking. And I think it's basically because of the lack of what Nadaraja Guru has said, the personal factor is missing in our education. So we need to have an alternative education system which brings a balance between modern scientific temper and spiritual education. And we need to substantiate it with a lot of research also. So which can be done only when you have institutional support, right? Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a very detailed explanation. Thank you.
I have a question to the speaker. I mean, it's a kind of an observation. If you look at Narayana Guru, his closest disciple for a long time was Kumaran Ashan. Okay, and Ashan was scripted, an ascetic path, but he moved away from that to a grihastha. And Ashan presented Guru, as a Paramahamsa, as a divinity. Whereas on the other side, we see Nataraja Guru, another disciple who was sent away from Kerala to abroad. And Guru presented Narayan Guru as a philosopher, and who is more, who has a more of an abstract inclination. And the other side, when Kumaranashan presented Narayan Guru into the public, to the Kerala public, as a divinity, wherever he visited, we see the narration of people that, when Guru came, there was a rain, Guru blessed us, we cured ourselves, Guru is a healer. There is these stories of miracle. That way, Ashan kind of presented Guru, like a prophet, like Prophet Jesus, like Prophet Muhammad. So that's one part of it. And this aspect of Guru's divinity, it got wider receptibility, say in Kerala. And I found that this divinity of Guru, like we see the Guru Mandirs, in throughout Kerala and in Delhi also. And I mean, I'm to the speaker, I'm asking, like, on the other side, we see Nataraj Guru, presenting absolutism. I find that there's a kind of a philosophical ambiguity in that presentation of absolute, because when Guru is conceiving Paramatma or Paramartha, and his enabling presentation before the Kerala or even the wider universe is actually coming from the roots of Henry Bexo. Henry Bexo, his times and duration, that elaboration gave a kind of ambiguity, and this is kind of a riddle in the sense it kind of stopped Nataraj Guru's presentation of Narayana Guru to reach the wider public. I mean, this is just my observation. I just want to know the speakers. I mean, it is very good speech. I feel like it's eye opening, and it's opening up many vistas. So my reflection came on just because of this speaker's presentation of Narayan Guru and his interpretation by Naraju. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Levin, for this question. It's it's a very good observation that you have made. Like Kumaran Ashan and Nadaraja Guru, there are differences in the way they have, they in a way presented their Guru to the public and to the world. So I feel Kumaran Ashan and Nadaraja Guru, they have different swadharmas, and Nadaraja Guru found his swadharma in teaching, like being an alternative educator. If you read his autobiography, we can see that he is talking about his pain to start a new Gurukulam and the hurdles he faced, the challenges he faced, and how in the end Narayana Guru helped him out financially and also gave his blessings to find his Swadharma. And Kumaran Ashan, I'm not very familiar with, Kumaran Ashan, his activities in the public domain and what he has done to Narayana Guru and the image he has created about Narayana Guru. I could only say that, I have read writings, articles on Kumaran Ashan and the relationship between Kumaran Ashan and Narayana Guru, but what I'm trying to say is I have not contemplated on it, on their relationship, maybe because, I was not doing serious research upon their relationship. I was, my focus was more on Nadaraja Guru being an educationist himself. Different disciples have different ways of presenting their Guru to the world. So these differences may not be a contradiction in itself. And Narayana Guru has different faces. He was a healer, as you said, very true. And at the same time, a philosopher, So there are two things. As I said, Nadaraja Guru was prepared for a future generation. And Kumaran Ashan was a representative of the masses who was, in a way, we can say that, glorifying, in a way, presenting to the world Narayana Guru as a, avatar or a savior of humanity. So these are not contradictions. Of course, Narayana Guru and the relationship between Narayana Guru and Nadaraja Guru, is very different from Narayana Guru's relationship with Kumaran Ashan. And I don't want to talk more about it because, it would be injustice to Kumaran Ashan also if I say something which I don't know much about.
I feel that there's a lot of injustice given to Kumar Nashan by people who are, more into asceticism, because they feel that, he kind of disappointed Narayan Guru's mission. Whereas Kumar Nashan, if you look at his biography and his early poetic works, which you mentioned rightly, that he had an orientation of a poetic mind, and he was more of in awe or in wonder with the idea of a womanhood. So once when he got into that training of an ascetic mood, or when he was sent to Kolkata for a higher education, when he comes back, this his childhood memories or adoration of a womanhood, and it comes back to his life. It comes as a relapse actually. So in true honesty with himself, I use the word self, not Atma. He feels that he has to renounce that ascetichood. I'm just giving you a bit of information there, in the sense, because Kumar Nashan, before meeting Guru, was another one, and after meeting Guru, he has to transform, and then he feels that the Guru, Gurutva. I would say the Gurutva has to be used for a community mobilization, and that community mobilization, it worked in, and that result was very much coming to his life in evidence also. And my other question, that Nataraj Guru is like, I found it in his writings also, that maybe it's because of the time when Guru was going to West, is trying to relate or compare, Eastern and Western philosophy. I'm sorry, I'm getting long. I'm very late in the night. I'm sorry. Guru has absorbed, the philosophical mutation of which Henry Bergson speaks about in Time and Duration. Nataraj Guru. And when he's presenting the absolute, as the Paramatha which he envisions in, Narayan Guru's philosophy, it comes to the public as a very ambiguous, in the sense, there is a kind of a semantic non-relativity, relatability is present in Nataraj Guru's writing. I'm a bit critical of Nataraj Guru there.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Levin, bringing up this question. And this also shows that fortunately or unfortunately, in the academic field, the more references are going through the Guru Parampara created by Nataraja Guru. Because most of the documentation and the commentaries and interpretation of the books are available through the Narayana Gurukula movement, not through the official ascetic order set by the Narayana Guru. So that is why the academic community can relay the Gurukula publications and their way of thinking. But it doesn't mean that the other, the Shishyas were not having such great maybe contribution in the Narayana Guru's philosophy and other life, like Kumar Nashan. So we should have a balanced view between these two. The other day, there was another speaker was mentioning about the Gurutva of Narayana Guru. He was also mentioning only the Guru Parampara created by Nataraja Guru. So I told him that we should also see other disciples who have spent more time than Nataraja Guru with Narayana Guru, like Shivalinga Dasa Swamigal, who wrote Guru Shatkam. So beautifully the Gurutva of Guru is depicted in Guru Shatkam in Shivalinga Dasa Swami's work. Like Kumar Nashan. Kumar Nashan must have spent more time than Nataraja Guru with Narayana Guru. So we should also see and should have a balanced view understanding Guru between these two streams. So that is a right observation. Thank you, Mr. Levin, for bringing that to the forum. Any more questions? I think, Madam, we are getting almost, but it was interesting. Mr. Muhammad, sir, VK Muhammad, sir, you are the real practitioner. Our speaker mentioned about the theory and practice, and you are a real practitioner of Guru's wisdom. So, would you like to say something?
See, one thing, madam, what she said is actually Guru is being utilized for social and political gains in Kerala. But we SNGC want to bring the work outside the Kerala with the reverse this thing. We do not basically on philosophy. That is a basic thing. If you know Guru's philosophy, definitely world will start adoring him, because he got the knowledge from absolute, not from the science. So spiritual knowledge as well as the science of sciences, the science of absolute, that is Sri Narayana Guru. So we have to make these people to understand outside non-Malayalis or across the world. We have to make these things to understand and bring them to Guru's philosophy's fold. That is what we are trying for this thing. But if not today, maybe tomorrow, day after tomorrow, because there is a basic concept, there is a mindset in our society, in our people, that is about Sri Narayana Guru. He is meant for a particular job or particular caste or particular people or particular state. So we are trying to fetch him outside that philosophy, outside Kerala, and improve the situation. That is why basically practical way we are trying for it.
Thank you, Mohammed sir. Since the time we have taken a lot of time, I request Jija madam to say the closing remarks, and then over to Venu Ravindran for the vote of thanks. Thank you.
And it has been such an illuminating talk, bringing out and shining light on many, many, many less known, less thought of, fascinating aspects of Sri Narayana Guru and education and humanism. Also Advaita and the relationship between Guru and his Sishyas. It was really, really amazing to listen to you, Shareena. And also the questions were also very, very astute. And I'm really, really, this was a wonderful session today. I feel so so satisfied, so satiated that such a session we could have, we could organize with Dr. Shareena Banu. One other thing which occurred to me again and again is that she has brought in a very important perspective from outside the caste and outside Kerala, and in a very what do you say, positive kind of ambience of curiosity for knowledge and curiosity about the philosophy. It's unfortunate that, as you highlighted, Sri Narayana Guru is not known, and I'm sure you will join hands with us, Dr. Shareena Banu, to just spread the knowledge and spread his humanism outside Kerala, especially in Delhi. If we can capture Delhi, actually, we have got a lot of people in Delhi, but they are not right, they're not organized, and they're not functioning to go about it. And you also praise the little impact that social media can make. We should also exploit that a little more. We should just explore the possibilities a little more. Thank you very, very much, Dr. Shareena Banu, for agreeing to come and speaking. And also, you did pause at 45 minutes, but then we were so eager to listen more, learn more from you. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Over to Mr. Venu Ravindran.
Thank you,
Uh,
madam. Thank you, madam.
propose a formal vote of thanks.
Yeah. So firstly, on behalf of Guru Anugraham, I'd like to thank Sri Narayana Guru. It's actually an evening where I would like to say that it's a blessing of Guru that we have had Dr. Shareena Banu, who's part of today evening, sharing this wonderful thought on education, self and society with us. And I know the time was not enough, but definitely, yes, in this short time, we were able to hear out from you, madam. And I know each one of us are messengers from the Guru, and your insight has really definitely enlightened us, like our Jija madam has said. And I would like to thank your presence today with us, and like looking forward for your presence with us in taking this message and taking this beyond this where we are today, or beyond Kerala and beyond India, within India, take it forward. And also would like to thank for having this evening today, Mr. Professor Pradeep and Mr. Dilip for bringing to us Dr. Shareena Banu. And without their thought, this would not have happened. And each one of you who have worked behind it to have Dr. Shareena Banu with us today. And with this, I'd like to thank on behalf of Guru Anugraham and wishing all of you a blessed evening from Guru. Thank you very much.